And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
The show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. And I'll be honest with you, on today's show, I have no idea where to start because it's kind of like I've got Tom Brady and the Gronk on the show. Okay, some of you don't play football, so you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, well maybe it's like I can't even think of a sewing analogy for those of you that don't like football. But let me put it this way: I have asked Larry and Lenora to join me on today's show. And the reason I've asked them to be on today's show is because of where they are right now in their life. Where they are in life right now. Like Brady and like Gronkowski, they are both retired. Now, neither one of them played professional football. Let me be very clear about that, okay? Neither one of them, as far as I know, they didn't. But let me be clear, they are retired. So some of you are probably wondering, okay, well, how'd they do it? Did they get massive contracts like Brady and Gronkowski did? Well, kinda. They kind of did that. As a matter of fact, what they did do is they started to invest in real estate. They started doing this a while back. They've been members of Lifestyles Unlimited for almost 10 years. So this isn't their first rodeo with investing. As a matter of fact, they got started with one multifamily apartment community. They bought one. And then they bought another. And get this, they bought another, and they bought another, and they bought another, and another, and another, and another. Okay, so where am I going with that? You're wondering, where am I going? Here's where I'm going. They've had 58 different deals with 40 different lead investors. They have been very active as real estate investors. They have done everything that we taught them how to do at Lifestyles Unlimited. We turned them loose, and they flourished. They completely flourished. So let's do this. Let's get them on the show because I want you to understand how they did this. They have a formula for success that they're going to share with you. They're going to share with you all the information that's spinning around in between their ears. They're going to lay it all on the table for you because they, like me, want to help you understand that there's a better way to achieve retirement than what you're doing right now. So with no further ado, let me ask Larry and Lenora to come on the show, and let me say, good morning. How are you guys doing today?
Good morning. We're having a great day.
Hey, good morning. It's great.
So was the football analogy correct for you guys? I mean, are you like diehard football fans, or could you care less?
We're not diehard football fans, but I do know who Brady is. So
Okay, all right. Well, that's a start.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very, very safe to say that the two of you are in love. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Very much in love. And both of you have a shared interest in real estate investment. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that before Lifestyles Unlimited, what you were doing for retirement may not have been working for you?
I did not even see a way I could retire. I have a real expensive hobby, and it continued to go up every year. And I mentioned to Lenora that I didn't think I could ever retire because I had to keep working to be able to pay for my hobby.
Now, Lenora, I'm sorry, Lenora, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
Larry's expensive hobby is traveling to distant locations for scuba diving.
Yeah, he and I, we smoke the same crack pipe, unfortunately, but it's a great crack pipe, isn't it, Larry?
Oh, yeah.
It's not really drugs. It's something completely different that gives you the same euphoria as if you did drugs. That's the way I look at it. How about you, Larry? How do you look at scuba diving?
Well, my life goal was to go into outer space.
Oh, cool.
And because of my eyesight, I was never able to do that. And scuba diving is the closest thing I can find to that. You go underwater, you become weightless, you see alien creatures.
True. Yeah, and then you see some alien fish. And you weren't talking about the other scuba divers, were you?
They're the dangerous part. The rest of
exactly. Okay, so obviously Larry and I have a passion for scuba diving, and I could actually turn this whole show into a scuba diving show, but we would lose 90% of the audience because they didn't tune in for our passion. They tuned in for finding out how you guys did it with real estate. So are you ready to spill the beans?
Yes. Actually, we did what Dale told us to do. He's the one with the plan, and we just went out and executed as he told.
So why Lifestyles Unlimited? How did you find us, and why did you decide to move forward with us?
You want to take this, Larry?
Okay. I was approaching the age to retire, and like I said, I didn't see how I could. And Lenora was already retired, and she decided that she could get me retired. And she once heard this radio station, had this deal about real estate. And she suggested that we go to one of the meetings. And me being a big skeptic, I was like, nah, I've tried that. It doesn't really work. But I'll go with you and show you where the error is, where the scam part is. And so we went and we listened to Dale, and I was just blown away and really listened to what he had to say. And when he got to the part about debt and the difference between consumer debt and, business debt, that was the epiphany moment for me. I could see what he was talking about might really work. And so we went from there.
So Larry and Lenora, I got to ask the question, didn't we teach you about single family?
Yes, at the seminar, that's one of the things they were pushing. But luckily, we were able to sit with Dale at lunch hour and told him our specific situation. Well, like we said, we both were not in debt and stuff, so the houses we had were paid for. But then we were buying a house together, so we had these single-family houses that we could have rented out and started on that path. And he told us no, that we should sell those two houses, and that would give us enough money to start investing.
That along with our IRAs, which, given our age, were of a good size, and he said to, as you need it for investment, draw out of your IRAs. And we were of an age where we didn't have to pay a penalty, but of course we did have to pay the income tax on it as we withdrew it. And initially that was very hard, but we did it and don't regret it a bit.
Yeah, the very last year that I worked, when we started drawing out of our 401k, my income tax was as much as I made the entire last year that I worked. So all my last year of employment all went to taxes.
Ouch. Ouch.
But it worked out because 16 months later I was able to retire because we were making enough income off of our first investments.
So it was worth taking that knife shot.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Now, we've already established you guys were kind of Dave Ramsey disciples. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I didn't really read Dave Ramsey or follow him, but I just had the same sort of philosophy. I grew up pretty poor and never wanted to be in debt and wanted to, just be on my own type thing. So I just developed that philosophy on my own.
Did your parents help you develop that philosophy?
Only in being poor and not being very good at finances.
Okay, I was going to say, I think you're my brother, man, because it sounds like we had the same parents.
Yeah, my dad was a laborer his entire life, and Mom never worked, and, we lived paycheck to paycheck. We always managed somehow, but I could always sense this dark cloud of worrying about money overhead. If somebody got really sick or, if somebody in the family died, people pooled their money, family members pooled their money to pay for the funeral, and I just knew that I didn't want to live like that.
Did you guys hear the same nonsense I heard growing up about, go to school, get good grades, get into college, get more good grades so that you get a job that'll pay more than if you didn't go to college? Was that nonsense pumped into your minds?
And I did that.
You did that? All right. Larry?
No, my parents had the idea that as soon as I got out of high school, I should go to work and start paying them back for all the money they spent on raising me.
Wow. You
So
got tough parents,
I wanted to go
dude.
to college on my own to get out of that environment.
But you eventually got to college, right?
Eventually, yes. I started going to college on my own, and then I started working on the side in the oil business, And I actually ended up making more money on the side than what I would have made if I'd finished my degree. So I sort of dropped out of college, and it wasn't until years later I went back to college and finished and got my degree.
Interesting. So, Lenora, you did exactly what I did. You followed the wisdom that everybody was told. Larry,
Right.
you got some bad advice, man. Pay us back. Holy smokes, man. You must be a tough dude. Are you a tough guy?
Is.
Okay. I'm just thinking. I thought my dad was tough, you know? I mean, his attitude was, I got a roof over your head, I got clothes on your back, I got food in your belly. That's all you need. I thought I had it bad. Larry, you had it worse.
Yeah, in fact, I actually qualified for scholarships and stuff, and my parents would not sign the documents so I could get the scholarships because they didn't want me to go to college.
Did they just think it was a waste of time? What was their I'm trying to get inside their minds now.
No, they thought I needed to start paying them back for all the money they'd spend raising me.
Okay, so it's really the you owe us, kid.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry, brother. Do you need a hug? Because I'll have Lenora give you one right now.
Hey, everything's great now.
Oh, okay. That's right. Because I mean, you guys are living a retired lifestyle. I mean, you guys are completely relaxed. You got no personal debt, right?
Right.
You spend as much time during your days doing whatever the heck you want to do, right?
We do.
You took one of your granddaughters to Europe for 17 days just because you could?
Right. It was her dream to tour Italy, and that's what we did. 17 days from the Italian Alps down through Rome.
You guys have cruised all over the place. You guys can go where you want, when you want, and you don't worry about the money, do you?
No. In fact, that's one of the things. I was worried about never being able to retire, but since I retired, our income has gone up every year.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Hold on. That goes completely against all conventional wisdom out there. You mean you're working less and you're making more?
Yes.
Yes.
How are you doing that? How are you guys doing it? Are you doing something illegal?
No.
Okay. All right. We got to check there because, we don't want to get in trouble with the cops. So everything you're doing is completely legal. It's in accordance with United States law, United States code, and United States regulations. Yeah. And all you're really doing is investing in real estate, right?
That's it. Passively investing in real estate.
We're not even doing the hard part of the work. We're giving our money to somebody else, and they're doing the work for us.
Oh, now you just sound lazy to me.
Yep.
You are.
That's the best kind of investing, huh? The lazy investing.
Yeah.
And our, as you said, we've been in, 9, almost 10 years now, and our net worth is at tripling.
So you've tripled your net worth over the last 9 to 10 years, and I'm imagining that your income is going through the roof. When we come back from the break, we're going to get back into this story because I'm having a blast. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
For 30 years, I've taken the smartest people I could find and then held them up as examples for you guys to learn from. We're all only as strong as our best people. But the best part about this is that these best people are willing to give back.
Ready to learn from the best? It starts with our free online workshop. Stop depending on your paycheck. Quit worrying about retirement. Register now at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second half of the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Yeah, we're working on your financial freedom because I've got Larry and Lenora on the show, and they're spilling the beans. They are giving up all the good information about how they moved away from a lifestyle very similar to the one that you're living right now, where you're engaged, working for the man, you're stuffing money into your 401k. Maybe you're thinking about dabbling in real estate. Maybe you buy one or two pieces of property because you think that's the way to go, but you don't really have a roadmap. You don't really have guidance. You don't have the wisdom of a mentor assisting you. Well, Larry and Lenora found wisdom. They found wisdom at Lifestyles Unlimited. They went to Lifestyles Unlimited specifically to get a real estate investor education, which they received. And they got something that, well, you know what? I'm not sure anybody has this opportunity to do this, but back in the day, they had the opportunity to sit down with Del Walmsley during lunch on one of the two-day I can't even say it correctly. During one of the 2-day financial freedom seminars, that's the educational process that we all go through as members. It's what separates us from what we used to be to what we are now, and it gives us clairvoyance about how to invest. So they're sitting down with Del Walmsley. They're telling them, hey, we really don't have any debt. We got like 2 single-family properties. We've got these 401ks and things like that. And Del gives them some very solid advice. Lenora, do you recall exactly what he told you guys?
Yes, he said, don't mess with single family, go straight into multifamily. He says you've got funds, and that's where you need to be. Okay.
So how much seed capital were you guys starting with? Are you comfortable disclosing that to the audience?
Yes, I think so. We started with $2.5 million.
Okay, so $2.5 million was everything that you had accumulated up to that point in your life, correct?
Almost everything. We kept some reserve.
Okay. Well, that's a fair statement. So the point I want to make is that there are people out there listening to us that have that amount of money or even more in their retirement accounts, and they're thinking about what you guys used to think about, which is what? Where am I going? You know exactly where I'm going, right?
Yep. You're going to, am I going to outlive what I have, this big stack of cash? And what happens if I do? And that's not only retiring Larry, but that was a second question we were looking at. Okay, we've got this big pile of cash, but at the time we were 10 years younger. And, what if we live another 40 years?
Exactly.
So we were looking at a way to more quickly grow our savings.
Have either of you looked at your left hip? Have you ever noticed what's on your left hip?
No.
No, you haven't noticed the expiration date that's on your left hip? Everybody's got one, right? Yeah, we have no idea how long we're going to live, do we?
No.
And that is a scary prospect, especially when you're sitting on $2.5 million. Do you retire? Do you start drawing it down? What happens if the money goes away and you still have 10 more years of living?
Right.
That's a nightmare for me. What did it feel like to you guys?
It was a fear of the unknown. I'll be 80-something years old or 90-something years old, and I won't have any money, and who or what's going to take care of me? If I'm going to have to fall back on the government, well, that's not a pretty situation, is it?
Yeah, and the other thing that I think we need to point out for the audience to understand is that Larry wasn't even retired yet. You were still accumulating money and putting it into those retirement plans. How old were you, Larry, when all this was going on, if I can ask?
I was 64?
63, 64, yeah.
I was just getting close to retirement age. But even though I felt like I could never retire, I also realized the reality was I'd get to a point where nobody would hire me anyway.
Oh, are you talking about ageism?
Well, you're not supposed to call it that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's illegal to discriminate based on age, but what do we know about what really goes on in the real world? Exactly.
Look, I worked in an industry where they did hire older people, but soon you get to a point where they wouldn't hire you.
Yeah, and they also understand, especially with the type of work that you did. And I'm not discounting what you did, but it's a job specifically that younger people could do, and maybe they'd be willing to take less money because they have less responsibilities. And businesses know that, do they not?
Absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're in our 60s. We're thinking about retiring. We go to Lifestyles Unlimited. Was anybody skeptical about any of the information that was being put out initially in the Financial Freedom Seminar that you guys went to? Larry, were you skeptical?
I was skeptical about going and what I was going to hear.
Okay.
But the way Dale presented, he came across as real honest and somebody that was just really telling me the truth. So that helped me actually listen to him and not just skeptically dismissing what he was saying. And as he explained things, once he explained about debt, that's where I really understood what he was talking about, and that's what helped me believe it would be work.
Yep. The commercial debt for leverage returns.
What about the part about forced depreciation on multifamily? Did that get your attention?
Oh, yes. In fact, I believe there's only 1 year since we've joined, after the first 2 years, and we paid the income tax on our withdrawals from our IRAs. After those years, there's been only 1 year where we paid any income tax, and it was just due to the fact we didn't have enough depreciation to cover all the income.
Yeah, we had capital gains.
Capital gains, yeah.
So
but it wasn't a lot.
So you're saying over 9 years of investing, you only had 1 year where you actually owed taxes?
Yes.
Yes.
And it was under $15,000 for the year. So.
Oh, okay. That's not a huge bill.
No, not a huge bill at all, considering we hadn't paid anything in the other years.
and considering you're making a lot of money annually, correct?
Yes, we're making a lot of money annually. Less so, I will say, in the past 2 years because of the interest rate situation, the insurance rates going up, and the interest rates going up, so on and so forth. Actually, only about 1/3 of our holdings are continuing to pay distributions. The others are withholding so they can be sure to cover their increasing expenses, but we still have more in distributions than we need to live on. So it's all still good.
So it sounds like you're describing to me a rich person's problem.
Well, Larry and I were talking, and for some reason we don't feel rich, but we do feel fortunate and comfortable and at ease with where we are financially.
Here's the question I've got for you guys, because you mentioned you were dealing with about $2.5 million that you had to get invested, and then you just mentioned to me that you made a lot of contacts with a lot of different leads, and that's how you deployed your money. So how long did it really take you to get that amount of money dispersed? Deployed. Actually going to work for you.
I was just looking at that, and it took about 2 years at the level of investments that we were doing. And our first snowball, where money you've received from distributions and sales and refinances, you roll it back into another deal, was in January of 2016, almost exactly 2 years to the day that we joined Lifestyles. We have since sold that property, and the total return on it was 246%.
What's most important to you? Is it the physical property, or is it the lead investor that you're working with?
It's undoubtedly the lead. The lead is the most important part of the whole formula. They're the ones that's going to get out and do the work. They're the ones that figured out all the details of it, found the property. They're the ones that you really are relying on to make the deal work. So the lead is the most important part.
And the deal still has to work, of course.
Right.
The numbers still have to work.
But you've established a relationship with that lead. You understand their track record. You understand their business plan, because they give you the entire business plan. And because you've been educated by Lifestyles Unlimited, you know how to read that business plan and determine whether or not that business plan works for your investing goals and objectives, which is very, very important, is it not?
Oh, yes, it is. And I would like to make a statement. I don't know if we would ever come to this, but, things happen with apartment complexes. We've been through floods, fires, fraud, theft, and we still come out. It's, we don't want any of those things to happen. I guess it was Hurricane Ike. The very first property we purchased was hit badly. But when we sold it, and we sold it before repairs on the property, we turned over insurance proceeds to the buyer, and we got a 71% return on the property.
Wow. So something that went through a major hurricane, had a lot of damage, tenants displaced, still made you 71% return on investment.
Yes.
Yes.
Some out-of-state company came in looking for the best of what was left, and they liked this property. So it was it was a small property, it's 59 units. All the downstairs units could not be inhabited, but they wanted the property, and we sold it quite happily.
And made money off of it. I think
money,
that's just
right.
Also, just as there's a network working for the passive investors to find out where to invest, the leads themselves network together. And so when somebody has some problem on their property, they talk to other leads that may have already run into that sort of problem, and they help each other on solutions and stuff.
Yeah, it's the only organization out there where we as the members actually share very specific information. Like, for instance, you shared financial information with me in front of millions of people that aren't even members of Lifestyles Unlimited, but that's just how we roll as members, right?
Yes, it is.
Because we learn from that information. If we get real-time information and how it affects an individual, that makes more sense to us. We're more apt to learn from that type of experience than just some guy writing numbers on a chalkboard, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And we've missed, during the pandemic closed down, we really missed the case studies and the gatherings, and we are very slowly getting back out to those physically. It's so easy, to sit at home and watch them virtually, but there is something missing there. Yes.
Yeah, there's something to be said about seeing people and seeing their faces live and being able to communicate with them. Not to mention, like if you go to the case study and stuff, if they're doing some of the intro stuff and you've already heard it, you can go out in the hallway and talk with all your members and have a blast doing it and network. I mean, that's what it's really all about, right? It's meeting other people and finding out if you can help them or they can help you.
Yeah, and I will never forget, we were at a case study, and those man, probably in his 40s, came in. He's very nicely dressed in a suit, and he just took a seat, and he's kind of looking around. I thought, but he's not from Houston. So I got up and went over and introduced myself and chatted with him. He is from Ohio, and he'd come down to check out Lifestyles at their home base, and we exchanged business cards and chatted some more. And then at a follow-up, Dale was having a party at his place, and we were there, and this man was there. And I said, oh, do you know so-and-so? He was a well-known lead at the time. He says, no. I said, well, come on, I'll introduce you. And so I made the introduction. We chatted, and I left, and they kept talking. And then at the very next expo, this man headed me down. He said, I want to thank you so much for the introduction. I got into my first deal with this guy. And I just felt so good.
Well, I'm just sitting here listening to the story, and I'm feeling really good about the story because that's an amazing result.
I know. And I think this has happened to Larry as well. So, Larry, didn't a woman come up to you at Expo?
Yeah, one of the expos, a woman come up to me and said that it was my talk that got her interested and convinced her to go ahead and invest, and she was so happy that now they were on their way to retirement too. Yeah,
Larry had been on a passive panel, and she came up to him and told him that. So that is the intangible, the really feel-good part of this.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Hey, you know what? We're at the end of the show, and I wish we had another hour because I've got a ton of things to ask you. But I'll tell you what, for you, those of you listening to me, go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for a free workshop, and let's get you going.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.